They thought she died in combat. A folded flag, a stone wall, a mother's tears, all for someone who was never really gone. Years later, the pilot collapsed mid-flight, panic filled the cabin, and a stranger stood and said, "Call sign Phoenix, I'm flying." Nothing was ever the same. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. Maya Cole sits by the window in seat 14A and watches the clouds pass below the wing. She is flying from Anchorage, Alaska to Seattle, Washington. It is a short flight, just over 2 hours. She wears a plain gray jacket, jeans, and simple shoes. Her hair is tied back. To everyone around her, she looks like a tired traveler going home. No one on this plane knows who she really is. No one knows that 6 years ago, the United States Air Force wrote her name on a wall of the fallen. They thought she died in combat. Her mother received a folded flag. Her old squadron held a service in the rain. Newspapers printed her photo with the word "hero" under it, and the word "deceased" under that. But Maya Cole is not her real name. Her real name is Captain Elena Reyes, and Elena Reyes did not die that day over the mountains. She survived a crash that should have killed her, crawled through snow for 2 days with a broken leg, and was found half frozen by a rescue team that never told anyone but her direct commander. By the time the paperwork could be corrected, the funeral had already happened. Her family had already grieved. Elena made a choice that still keeps her awake some nights. She let the world believe the wall was right. She changed her name, moved to a small town near Anchorage, and taught teenagers how to fly small planes at the local airfield. It was quiet. It was safe. It was nothing like the life of Captain Elena Reyes, decorated fighter pilot, call sign Phoenix. Now she is flying home to see her father, who is in the hospital after a stroke. Her sister called 2 days ago, crying, saying he keeps asking for Elena, not knowing that the daughter who visits him sometimes as a family friend named Maya is the same daughter he thinks is dead. Elena stares out the window and tells herself this trip will be simple. Land, visit, leave quietly. She does not know yet that this flight will not let her stay quiet. 40 minutes after takeoff, the seatbelt sign is off and passengers are relaxed. Then the captain's voice comes through the speakers, calm at first. "Folks, we are cruising at 31,000 feet, smooth skies ahead, we should begin our descent into Seattle in about." The voice stops in the middle of the sentence. Not a pause. A silence that feels wrong, like the microphone was dropped. The pilot collapsed at the controls, though no one in the cabin knows that yet. Elena's whole body goes still. Years of training do not fade, even after 6 years of hiding. Something is wrong in that cockpit, and her body knows it before her mind finishes the thought. 10 seconds later the plane tilts hard to the right, far too hard for normal flying. A drink cart rolls and crashes into a seat. A child screams. The plane rocks back the other way, uneven, like someone is fighting the controls without knowing how. The intercom crackles again, and a different voice comes on, young, shaking. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is First Officer Grant. We have a medical emergency in the cockpit. The captain is unresponsive. I need anyone with flying experience to come forward right now." The cabin breaks into panic. A man near the front unbuckles and starts shouting that they are going to die. A mother pulls her son close and begins to pray out loud. Elena sits with her hands gripping the armrests, telling herself this is not her problem anymore, that she gave up that life, that someone else will step forward. But no one does. Seconds pass, and the plane drops again, faster this time, nose tilting down. Through the cabin speaker, she can hear the first officer's radio call bleeding through, panicked and broken. "Seattle Center, this is Pacific Air 227, Mayday, Mayday, the captain is down, I don't know if I can hold this, I don't know if I can." The controller's voice answers, steady but urgent, trying to walk her through basic instrument checks, but the first officer's voice keeps cracking, keeps losing the thread. Elena closes her eyes. She sees the faces around her, a boy with headphones frozen in fear, an old woman gripping a photograph, and she knows exactly how this ends if nobody with real training gets into that cockpit in the next few minutes. She stands up. A man beside her grabs her wrist. "Sit down, we have to stay seated." Elena looks at him without anger, just certainty. "Let go of my arm." She pulls free and walks up the aisle as the plane shutters under her feet. A flight attendant, pale and shaking, blocks the cockpit door. "Ma'am, please, you cannot go in there." Elena meets her eyes. "I have flown fighter jets in combat. That first officer is going to lose this aircraft in the next 2 minutes if someone does not help her. Open the door." The flight attendant's hands shake as she unlocks it. Inside, the cockpit is a mess of flashing lights and alarms. The captain is slumped against his harness, unconscious, his lips faintly blue. First Officer Grant is gripping the controls too tightly, overcorrecting every small movement, her breathing fast and shallow. The plane is losing altitude at a dangerous rate. Elena's voice comes out low and steady, the same voice she once used over enemy territory. "First Officer Grant, look at me. My name is Elena. I am a trained pilot. I need you to take your hands off the controls right now and let me fly this plane." Grant's head snaps around, eyes wide. "You can't just, I can, and I need you to trust me, because right now you are fighting the aircraft instead of flying it, and that is what is going to kill everyone on this plane. Let go." For one long second, Grant does not move. Then her hands drop from the yoke, and Elena slides into the seat beside her, easing the controls with a touch that is careful but sure. The plane rolls level. The alarms quiet one by one. "Good," Elena says. "Now breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. I need you on the radio with me." She keys the microphone herself, and for the first time in 6 years, she speaks the words she swore she never would. "Seattle Center, this is Pacific Air 227. A passenger with military flight training has taken the controls. The captain is down, the first officer is assisting me. I need vectors for an emergency approach into Seattle, and I need them now." There is a pause on the frequency, and then the controller's voice, careful. "Pacific Air 227, understood, can I get your name for our records?" Elena hesitates for only a moment, knowing what these next words will cost her. Then she says them anyway. "Call sign Phoenix, I'm flying, and I need you to guide me down, because it has been 6 years since I sat in a cockpit like this one." Silence fills the frequency before the controller's voice returns, strange and careful. "Say again your call sign." "Phoenix." Captain Elena Reyes, United States Air Force, formerly assigned Combat Wing, currently a passenger on your aircraft and about to land it. We can talk about the rest after we are on the ground. Somewhere in a control tower, a supervisor freezes at the sound of a name he had personally seen listed among the fallen. Calls go out. Someone checks records. Someone else picks up a phone to a base commander who once stood at a funeral with a flag in his hands and swore he would never forget the pilot they lost. But none of that matters yet inside the cockpit, where Elena is guiding a shaking first officer and a badly wounded aircraft toward a runway she cannot yet see. A calm instructor voice comes over a secondary channel, a retired pilot the tower has pulled in to help talk her through the unfamiliar aircraft type. Step by step, Elena adjusts the throttles, checks her heading, drops the landing gear, and watches 3 green lights confirm it is locked. Her hands, which once flew far more dangerous machines, remember more than she expected. Grant beside her has stopped shaking and now reads out checklist items in a steady voice, finding her own courage by watching someone else refuse to brake. As the runway finally appears through the windshield, lined with flashing emergency lights, Elena eases the throttle back and begins the final approach exactly as she was taught to do it years ago, one careful adjustment at a time. The wheels touch down hard but controlled, the engines reverse with a roar, and the aircraft slows, and finally stops on the runway, safe. For a moment nobody in the cabin makes a sound. Then the plane fills with crying, with clapping, with strangers hugging each other, alive. When Elena steps off the aircraft, paramedics rush past her toward the captain. Airport staff and investigators wait at a distance, unsure what to do with a woman the Air Force once buried. A man in uniform steps forward first, someone from her old squadron who was rushed to the airport the moment her call sign hit the radio. He stops a few feet away, staring like he is looking at a ghost. "Phoenix," he says quietly. "We held a funeral for you." "I know," Elena says. "I'm sorry. Why didn't you come back?" "Because by the time I was found, the funeral had already happened, and I told myself it would be easier for everyone if I stayed gone. I was wrong." He steps forward and pulls her into a hug that says more than any words could. 2 hours later, Elena walks into a hospital room where her father lies with tubes in his arm and her sister sitting beside him, unaware. Her sister looks up first, and her face goes pale, then confused, then breaks apart into tears. Her father turns his head slowly and stares at the daughter he has not seen in 6 years. "Elena," he whispers. "Hi, Dad," she says, taking his hand. "I know I have a lot to explain, but I am not going anywhere this time." In the weeks that follow, Elena sits across from Air Force officials who want to know why a woman declared dead was flying a commercial jet through a live emergency. She tells them the truth, every part of it, and when they ask if she regrets revealing herself, she says no, because 60 passengers went home to their families that day, and that matters more than her own privacy ever could. She is not reinstated for combat flying, her body will not allow it anymore, but she is given a new role training young pilots how to handle the kind of emergency she once faced alone in a cockpit at 30,000 feet. Months later, standing in front of a room of nervous new students, one of them asks her what she thinks about most when she is scared. Elena smiles, thinking of a father who finally knows his daughter is alive, of a first officer who is now flying her own missions with steady hands, of a squadron that welcomed her back without one word of blame. "I used to think staying hidden was the safest thing I could do," she tells them. But safety was never the same thing as living. Sometimes you have to say the name they buried, out loud, in front of everyone, and let them find out you were never really gone. She looks around the room at their young, uncertain faces, and adds one more thing before class begins. "Every one of you will have a moment where the easy thing is to stay quiet, and the right thing is to stand up anyway. When that moment comes, I hope you choose the way I finally did."